We are going to begin today. One, this practice is going to be more of an all-level practice, but with intermediate options. You can keep going the next step if you want to. It's also very hot for us practicing outdoors and in just a hot day in general. So just keep checking in with your energy levels and reserves and make sure that you feel safe and supported and energetic enough to do certain things. And if not, just take a more restorative option or, pause and rest in either a seated or child's pose position. And what else? Yeah, you might sweat. Embrace the sweatiness. Let that be a welcome thing. Yeah, stay hydrated. So we are going to begin with a bit of a centering that goes through alignment points and then a bit of a meditation. And then we'll start our more warm-ups and going through a bit of a flow and ending as we normally do in Shavasana outdoors. Hopefully it will still be shady in your spots. If not, you just move your spots. And speaking of being hydrated, I'm just going to grab my water. So after we move through this centering exercise with our alignments, feel free for the meditation to either remain upright or lie down or just make yourself into whatever supportive position you want for the meditation portion. But just begin sitting upright, nice and tall in your spine, and just bringing attention down to the tailbone. And you might play with just rocking the pelvis a little bit, maybe initiating from that tailbone, I can't say that word, right? Tailbone part piece there as you just kind of tuck the tailbone under and then extend the tailbone back. And see if these little movements can just be what starts to fill your mind. And then allowing the tailbone to just settle, to reach down energetically toward the earth. Maybe just bring your hands to your hip bones. And then from maybe that placement at the hips, play with a little bit of a teeter-tottering, a circling of the hips. So it might feel a little smaller than when we circle our rib cage. Let's see if you can allow a few circles in one direction and then reversing that direction. Maybe the opposite direction feels a little stuck. Just notice that. Start to connect with your breath, and if you're comfortable, even close the eyes down. So as you're circling from the hips, the pelvis, let the crown grow nice and tall away from that circle, that groundedness in the hips and the pelvis. And then allowing those circles to settle. Again, tailbone to root down. Maybe engaging a little bit more through the abdominal wall, so the navel center starting to draw back and up. You might start to think about that Mula Bandha as well, the perineum hugging up. And then hands can be on your knees or your thighs. And on your next inhale, we're just going to press the chest forward, squeeze the shoulder blades back, maybe lift your gaze. And as you exhale, engaging from the navel center, let that scoop your belly back, round the back of your heart, draw the chin toward your chest. Inhale again as you extend, open the chest, the front of the spine. Exhale as you round into the back of the spine. Again, just taking this at your own pace, just doing a few rocking movements here. And then allowing the rib cage to start to circle in one direction. And if you like, you can also circle the head on top of the rib cage, if that supports you. If it feels better to keep the head nice and neutral, gaze fixed in one place, then allow that as well. If you think it would be supportive to just kind of swim the arms around, to reach them up toward the sky as you circle the ribs, you can allow that. If it feels better to, again, keep them grounded, connected to the floor, let that happen. And feel free to adjust yourself in any way. If you're not supported here, you don't have to sit in any particular way. And let's reverse that direction. Finding some nice, long, deep breaths. And then we're going to allow ourselves to just settle that movement for a moment. Maybe just extend your legs out from underneath you just to stretch out into the backs of the knees. You can press your heels down into the earth and just kind of shake out your legs a little bit. And then maybe just bring your palms behind you, fingertips facing in, really rooting down into the finger pads here so the center of the palms sort of start to cup away from the earth. Roll the shoulders back, hug the scapula in, and then you might just start to lift the sternum, lift the chest, maybe drawing the chin toward the notch of the throat. Root down into those heels. If you like, you might start to press down even more as you start to lift your hips off the earth. Maybe you take a bent knee option where you're walking the feet in a little bit, knees above your ankles. If it supports you to lift your gaze, lift your chin, allow that, but try not to let the shoulders roll in toward your chest. Keep squeezing the scapula in, lifting the sternum, opening your heart. Take another breath in. And then as you're ready, exhale, lower down. And then take a moment to set yourself up for a meditation. And again, now maybe from those little movements that we did as a way of supporting you in an upright position where you engage in your Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, so your root and navel lock. Maybe you also play with lengthening the occipital bone. The chin lines up with the manubrium, which is that space where your clavicles join at the top of the sternum. And your eyes might just close down. And allow this just to be a study on the nature inside your own mind, the nature around you. Take a few moments just to completely allow and sense yourself in this space, in this environment which you find yourself. Inviting yourself to relax the critical mind. Open yourself up to allowing this experience, to trusting what comes, and to letting be. And as you are sensing yourself in this space, relaxed, trusting, allowing, letting be, sensing your body connected to the earth, begin to imagine and picture yourself as a lotus flower, sitting on the water, afloat on top of the surface, held and supported. Perhaps that sense of your breath as it moves in and out gives you that sense of buoyancy, that sense of floating, a gentle wave rocking you. Whether or not you see this image clearly in your mind, just start to think about this. Sensing yourself as a lotus, sitting on top of the water, afloat. Breath moving in and out naturally. And bring your attention to your root, the very base of your spine. And imagining your root reaching down into the earth as the stem of the lotus flower. And as it reaches down into the darkness, into the muck, you sense the roots spreading wide into the depths of that pond. And you might just simply think of those roots that feed energy up through the stem to the lotus blossom as your past. Sometimes submerged under the surface, maybe coming from a place in the muck once in a while or in the dark, but trusting that all has led you to this moment exactly as you are. So as you think about those roots in the muck of the pond, you might allow the idea that the past is a place that we can grow from. Experiences gone, lessons learned, life lived, no matter the muck we've sort of emerged from or had to break through, and perhaps still find ourselves in at times. That all experiences lead to learning, to this moment of being, feeling, opening. And perhaps bring your attention back to sensing the lotus blossom, the body on the surface of the pond, but also rooted and connected to the past, but not chained or stuck, but just the idea that the past allows for this moment to be. And allow your body, each cell, to open as if it were the lotus blossoms opening to the sun. Maybe imagining each petal unfurling to the sky, to the wind, to the sun above, as each cell in your body becomes a bit more open to this experience, to this practice of receiving. And as you picture yourself as that flower receiving the light, but also sensing the support of your roots in the water, the breath that supports you. And begin to imagine that you're looking at yourself from above. So you see the lotus flower that you are from above yourself. You're looking down at the pond. You see yourself floating, open, receiving, sitting on the surface. And you also see the water that supports you and also reflects the sun above. You see the reflection of the sun, the sky, the clouds, the winged beings that might fly by from place to place. And you can also pierce through the surface of the water, the reflective surface, and look down and see the roots embedded in the depths below the muck. And you know that what is below is above, and above is below. What is present is from the past, and that the future is in the now. In this very moment, by each choice made from one moment to the next. So see if you can sense yourself as the sky, as the lotus, as the water, as the reflection, and as the muck, as all of it. And see if you can sit in a sense of knowing that this very moment there's choice and there's power in that choice. This present moment will influence the future. Allowing this moment to be whatever it asks you to be. So you can feel whatever this moment asks you to feel and experience all that this practice might invite you to experience. Inviting each and every cell to open up to this moment. We can slowly start to deepen our breath, maybe blink our eyes back open to the space, to each other that we're going to be practicing with. And I guess I have one more little thought to share before we move into this practice as a way of just planting seeds and something of thoughts that you can kind of nourish throughout this practice, and kind of a discussion that Allison and I had a little bit earlier today. The idea of like, what is a weed? And it's really interesting because I used to have ideas about what weeds were, and then the more I've done this kind of work with the garden and permaculture, I realized there's actually no such thing as a weed. All plants are plants, and some plants are just in places you just don't want them. But there's not really a weed. I think that was like probably a made-up idea by people that want to tell you, like, Victorian era of like, this is what a formal garden looks like and these are bad plants. But there's no really bad plants. They're all actually there for a reason, just like we're all here for a reason. And I like how Allison said it's just perception, right? What is a weed? So I want to think about that as we move into this practice. About in our minds we have these thoughts, and we think there's good thoughts and bad thoughts. And it's like weeding out the thoughts, the bad thoughts. And try to think about the idea that all thoughts are thoughts and part of nature, and that try not to label or criticize that that's a weed and I need to pull it out with this like idea of it's bad. Maybe, yes, some thoughts do just perpetuate and keep us in suffering, but if we can see them and hold space for them, and then also shift our perspective without kind of like a blame. So maybe just think about that there's no real weeds. All right, so we're gonna start on our backs. So come down to your spine, and we're gonna do some stuff to strengthen our neck muscles a little bit. So you can have your legs extended, and you want your heels pressing down into the earth. And then you can have your palms facing down on the ground as well, and palms kind of energizing down. And then bring your attention to the back of your skull, and I want you to start to push the back of your skull into the earth so it kind of lifts your chest a little bit. And you might just breathe and hold that for just a couple breaths as you reach to the heels, flex to your toes, press down into the back of the skull so the back of the neck lifts even more, the chest. Take a nice deep breath in, and on your next exhale, let everything just relax and soften a bit. So relax your legs, relax your chest back down. Maybe just ever so gently roll your head right to left. And you can do that exact exercise just the way we did it, or if you want, you can bring those hands underneath your buttocks, and some might have your palms even further underneath, depending on the length of your arms. And then same thing, you want to flex through your feet, press down into your heels. You want to think about pressing the back of the skull into the earth, lifting the chest, and maybe just walk your scapula in, your shoulders in, your arm bones in a little bit more if you're choosing that option of having the arms underneath your back body. And then again, just like hold for a couple breaths. Making sure you're drawing the chin back, pressing the occipital bone down into the earth actively. And then on your next exhale, let everything soften once more. And you can untuck those arms if you like. You can bend your knees, walk your feet in toward the earth. Bring your arms up so your fingertips are up toward the sky, and just start to make some concentric circles. So let your arms kind of move in toward your midline, cross each other, and then open out away toward the side body. And allow these circles to be as large or as small as you like. And then each time your arms cross your midline, maybe a different arm, you're alternating which arm crosses on top. And then reversing the direction. And on your next inhale, just reach those fingertips up toward the sky, and on your exhale, let the arms melt back down by your side. And once more, you can decide to have the arms move underneath your back body, tucking them underneath, or you might leave them out. And you might just take a moment to just stamp your feet onto the earth like you're running in place. Just kind of walk your feet one at a time, shake out the legs, stamp them out. Almost like use the earth as your drum. This is a technique birds do to bring the earthworms to the surface. So then we might get some earthworms underneath us. Good, and then from this place, we're gonna let the knees open, bring the soles of your feet together. And once more, you can think about walking the scapula in, pressing into the occipital bone, or pressing the occipital bone, the back of the skull down into the earth to lift your chest. If you feel like you want to go a little bit further, moving into the Matsyasana, you can start to bend into your elbows. Your forearms are going to press down into the earth. Lift your chest even higher and bring the top of your head to the earth. But only if you feel like that would serve you in this moment. If not, work on strengthening the back of the neck in that other exercise we were just at. And bringing the soles of the feet together, pressing them energetically together, engaging the calf muscles, engaging the thighs so the knees can move down closer to the earth. And then think about that tailbone re-rooting. Press the tailbone down also as you lift the sternum. Take one more breath. And as you exhale, let everything release and soften, tucking the chin in, unbinding the arms, so take them out from underneath your back. Maybe extend your legs or allow them to be as they are, but just in a more relaxed way. Take a nice deep breath in to the whole body. And a nice full breath out. And then nice and easy from this place, we're gonna walk those feet back onto the earth. Open your arms out into a nice wide wingspan. And just gently windshield wiper your legs. And as you do that, you can look in the opposite direction that your knees fall. Maybe just do one more round, getting each side so you're nice and even. And then you're gonna take your right leg and cross it on top of your left. And then draw both knees in toward your chest. You might reach around for your knees. Some of you might be able to reach for your opposite ankle and bring the calves or the shins sort of parallel to the earth and kind of open the legs out like antennas. But if not, just think about drawing those knees in and rooting your tailbone down toward the earth, pressing the shoulders away from the ears, moving the scapula in toward the spine. Give a little press down into your occipital bone, chin drawing toward the notch of your throat. And then if you like, from this place, you might play with kind of rocking a little bit side to side, massaging that outer hip of your right leg. And just take another breath here. And then unbind the legs, and you can just cross the opposite leg on top. And again, you might just draw the knees in toward the chest as you work the shoulders away from the ears, press the sacrum down into the earth so that lumbar curve is slightly lifted away from the floor. You might reach for the opposite ankle or heel. Open the shins out so the feet are kind of shining away from your side body. The feet might be flexed, shins might move parallel to the earth, and again, you might rock a little bit side to side. Just listen and honor your body and what is right for you. And then we're going to extend our legs back up toward the sky. And you might bring your arms alongside your hips with the toes reaching up. You might have softness in the backs of the knees here. You might just roll out your ankles for a moment or swim your legs around, inviting any movements that would serve you here as a way to lubricate, to open. And then you can take two options here. You might work toward moving those toes overhead and playing with rolling into your plow and then rolling back down to this position where your legs are sort of up toward the sky, your hips are connected to the earth. Or you might instead, if that doesn't serve you today, suppose you have a tight neck, you could always bend your knees, plant your feet on the earth, and just move your hips up toward the sky and lower them down, taking more of a bridge version. Or you could even combine the two if you like. Reaching toes overhead, rolling down toward your hips, and once your hips reach the earth, soften into your knees, plant your feet, press your pelvis toward the sky. Breathing deeply, exhale, lower the hips back down, and then toes reach back overhead. And finding a way to connect to your breath as you just play with these movements as a way to help open your spine. And remember to take the option that best serves you because there is a lot of heat today. And making sure to take water breaks when you need them. And whichever version that you're playing with, make sure to just keep your nose to the sky and breath nice and full and deep. And allowing this moment just to be whatever it needs to serve you, to allow yourself to just ground back into your body, into this present moment. And remembering the power that is in this moment right now. So maybe you just take a moment of stillness, whether you're in plow, whether you're in bridge, whether your legs are up toward the sky, your hips are on the earth, and just settle into 3 full deep breaths. Allowing this pause, welcoming this stillness. Wherever you are, just sensing yourself held and supported by the earth. That the earth is that source for us of support. And then after your third exhale, slowly coming back down onto your full spine if you're not already there. And we're going to just slowly make our way upright to a seated position. So you might choose to rock your way up. You might roll to one side. Take your time to arrive there in any way that your body is saying is right for you. And after we get into the exercise, feel free to adjust yourself a little bit if you want to reorient yourself on your mats or your blankets, so that way you feel a little more supported. So we're going to bring our legs out in front of us, and you're going to have your hands behind you to start, and you might have your heels about hip width distance. You might decide to open them up a little wider. Again, allow yourself to play. We're just starting with allowing a little bit of a windshield wiper. And then as you get more comfortable, you can allow, so if the knees fall to one side, the arm that's left behind, you can kind of trace around on that horizontal plane and reach on that diagonal that the knees are moving toward. And without a moment sooner than your body is ready, so there's no need to rush this. We're going to kind of flow with this in some time. You can also play with pressing your shins down onto the earth and letting the pelvis lift up. Maybe that back arm circles all the way around, comes back to the earth as the hips lower, the knees switch sides. You might even play with extending the back leg, so you're grounding into a palm, a shin, and that back leg that's kind of left behind from the direction you're rotating toward lifts off the earth. The toes stay rooted, but the knee and the thigh will start to extend away from the floor. Maybe we find ourselves on one side, balancing on the palm and the shin, and we float that back leg all the way off the earth. Bend into the knee, reach for the ankle, press the foot into the hand as you arch your spine, open your chest, really grip into those fingers. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, draw the knee toward the chest, rounding your upper back, maybe switching your grip so you're reaching for your heel, your ankle, and bring your head toward your knee so you're extending your leg, bringing the knee toward your nose, and then just flow with that. So staying on this side, bringing the heel behind you, opening into your front body, exhaling, bringing the leg forward, knee to nose. And know that you can always go back to what we were just doing, just windshield wipering the legs. Again, this is your practice, your body. Take it at the level that is right for you. Maybe we'll just try one more. Maybe pausing in a place that feels good to stay for another breath. And then when you're ready, bringing your hips back to the earth, bringing yourself over to that other side. So let the knees roll to the opposite side. Grounding into the opposite shin and palm, and then finding that back leg extending, lifting off the earth, trying to stabilize your shoulder over your wrist, really gripping into your finger pads as well so that center of your palm is cupping. And then you can bend that extended leg, grab hold of it, push the foot into the hand to open the front body, to maybe press the head back, to open the sternum. And then as you exhale, you can take it into that flow, bring your head toward your knee, extending that lifted leg. And just flow with it, with your breath, finding that movement. that movement that best serves you. So may not even be doing what I'm suggesting. And again, you might find a place to just simply pause for a moment that feels right, that feels good. Sense the opening, allowing all those sensations to flood in, allowing all those thoughts without a need to weed them out. And then we're going to relax, come back down, take a moment, just sit in stillness, grab some water, maybe roll out your wrists a bit. Maybe just allowing a forward fold, a child's pose, from a seated position or lotus position, whatever serves you best. And on your next inhale, just fill up as full as you can allow yourself. So as you exhale, you can open the mouth and just let out a gentle sigh. Whenever that exhale comes. And then slowly engaging into that Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. Bring yourself back upright to a nice tall position, seated. I'm going to take a moment. We're going to come to all fours, coming to our hands and knees. We're going to extend our right leg out to the side. And then we're going to pivot that right heel in toward our body. So we have a little bend. You can kind of bend into that knee. And then we're going to play with kind of walking your hands a little bit toward that right shin. So it's more in the center between your shin and your pelvis and your knee. And then we're going to play here with kind of coming up onto the finger pads if you like, letting the pelvis kind of sink down toward that right shin, lifting your heart, rolling those shoulders back, lifting your gaze. And then as you exhale, tuck the tailbone round the chin toward the chest. So you're taking that cat stretch, arching your spine. Inhaling as you move the pelvis down toward the earth, toward that front shin, and lift your chest. Exhale as you push into that right foot, arch your spine. Maybe your pelvis lifts just slightly. Inhaling as we sink and lift. Exhaling. And then we're going to walk our hands over toward that right side, grounding into that right palm. Left arm can circle up toward the sky. Take a nice deep breath here. Inhale. And exhale as we lower the arm down. And then just start to extend into that front leg. Bring your right hand to the outside of your right leg. And then move your head down toward your knee. If you like, you can flex that foot. You can try to keep the ball mound rooted onto the earth, whatever, again, supports you. Maybe on your next inhale, you find a little more length, so maybe lift up through your torso, draw those shoulders back, shine your sternum forward, and then exhale as we fold. And the next inhale, lift back up. Bring that right hand back to the instep of the right foot. Bend back into your right knee. Walk your hands over toward your left knee. Swivel the left toes toward the back edge of your mat if they're not already there. And then stepping that extended right leg back in. And you might just take a moment to wag out your tailbone a little bit. Look over your shoulder. We'll move to the other side. In a moment, we'll extend that left leg out. And again, walking your hands a little bit between the foot and that grounded shin. Coming up onto the finger pads if you like. As we inhale, drop the belly or let the belly stretch as you roll the shoulders back. Lift your gaze, exhale, scoop the belly back, dripping the head and tailbone toward the earth, stamping into the outer edge of that left foot, top of the right shin. And just kind of flow here at your own pace for a moment. Oh yeah, you're right, Kristen. Thank you. We're actually going to turn the heel out and then bend your knee. You were right, yeah. To do it the same thing. It's a little different than we did on the first side, right? Yeah. So we're going to bend into that left knee first. And then as we inhale, we're opening, stretching the belly. As we exhale, we're rounding, arching our spine. I guess you can do either. But for evenness, we'll have the leg bent. Making sure you're keeping your inner thigh active on that left leg to support the knee opening over the ankle in line with the second and third toe as you move your spine in this way. And then allow your spine to be extended. Walk your hands over toward that left foot so the left hand remains rooted. Inhale, spiral the right fingertips up toward the sky. Maybe turn your gaze up. Take another deep breath here. As we exhale, bring that top hand back down. We can frame that left foot and start to extend into that left leg. Trying to do your best to square your torso over the leg. Draw your left hip back in space. Inhale, find length in your torso. Exhale as you fold. And again, you might think about lifting the toes, or you might think about pressing the ball mound down toward the earth. Whichever, again, variation is right for you. And see if there's a way you can engage into that right shin, top of the foot as well, pressing down into the earth, creating some stability as you breathe. And then from this place, we'll bend into that left knee once more. Bring your hands back around to the front. And then bring that extended leg in. Then from here, we're going to just make sure we have our facing toward the front of our mat. We'll ground our hands down, tuck our toes, and move our hips back and up toward the sky, working toward our downward facing dog. Feel free to parallel your feet for a little bit. Take some movements between your down dog and your plank if you like, to ripple through your spine, or just find some stillness, or even take a rest if this moment is calling for a rest. And wherever you are, we're going to bring ourselves into a standing forward fold. So whether that's walking your hands toward your feet or your feet toward your hands, you can allow a nice bend in your knees, establishing your feet, all sides rooted down toward the earth. Especially if you're in uneven earth, make sure you're feeling nice and supported and rooted. And then have a nice gentle bend in those knees, and as long as your spine feels healthy and supported, stacking your vertebrae, but if not, think about lifting through the back of the skull, the back of the heart, leading through an extended spine, slowly bringing yourself all the way upright. Just take a moment to arrive standing upright. Again, thinking about just standing into this moment, standing into the sense of your own power, this present moment, and all the choices that are before you. And move move through a little bit of a flow. I'm going to teach 2 different variations. I'll teach a little more all levels the first time. The second time we'll move into a little more intermediate advanced. So you can always have the option to stay with the more gentle version, especially if the heat today, you don't want to push anything. So we're going to at the front of our mats with our feet about hip width distance apart, and keep a little softness, a little bend in your knees. Drawing your next breath in as you reach the arms up and overhead. And as we exhale, you can bend your knees as you take a fold, lengthening your spine as you fold, bowing head down toward the earth, bending the knees so the hands can plant. And then we're going to step our left foot back into a lunge, and then anchor that left heel down so the pinky edge side of your left foot is rooted. And then from this place, we can pinwheel our arms up. So we're coming into our Virabhadrasana 2. Beautiful. And you might stay upright, nice and strong through the torso. If you like, you can try taking that back arm, that left arm, internally rotating it, bending the elbow and reaching for behind your body. And maybe you're reaching for your inner right pocket. You can kind of push your fingertips down, and then the right arm can sweep up toward the sky. So your left palm might be pushing down on your right thigh as your right fingertips reach up. You're finding space between your heart and your hips as you reach up and back. Top shoulder anchors into its socket. Gaze might be up, straight ahead, or down. And settle in. Take a nice deep breath here. And again, you can always choose to leave your arms extended out, horizontal or parallel to the earth. Take another breath here. And on our next exhale, we'll pinwheel our arms all the way back down toward the earth, lifting the back heel. And then from this place, we're going to step our right foot back to meet the left into our plank. Take a nice inhale. And as we exhale, we can lower our knees, sink our hips back toward our heels. And in our next inhale, we can pull our chest through, press our pelvis down onto the earth, and make your way into a little baby cobra or full cobra. Tops of the feet pressing into the earth. And on your next exhale, we'll move back into a down dog or child's pose. Your choice. Take a couple nice deep breaths just to settle here. Sense the heart expanding. And just allowing, so sort of relinquishing control of that critical mind, if we can, that likes to judge. Remember, there's no real weeds. The idea of a weed is just a perception. And then from here, we're going to lift our heels, bend our knees, look forward. As we exhale, we can walk or hop our feet. If we want to try hopping, we can hop them to the outer edge of our hands. So we kind of come into that lotus or whatever this is, malasana. What is a malasana? Yogi squat, not a lotus. That was our meditation. So rooting that tailbone down, anchoring in through all sides of the feet if you can, or whatever surface area you can push down into. And then on our next inhale, let that extend our legs, bring ourselves up toward standing. Beautiful. Palms can connect overhead. Exhale, palms to heart center. Good. And from here, we can keep our feet nice and wide, but turn our heels out so they're either in line with our toes or slightly wider. You can bring your hands to your hips, to your sacrum, and then engage the buttocks, send the pelvis forward, lift up into the sternum, and then start to open your back body or open your heart toward the sky. And if you like, you might walk your hands down the backs of your legs, working toward your ankles, whatever your body is ready for. Take a nice deep breath in. Imagine someone kind of hooking onto the sternum and pulling you up even higher to bring yourself back upright. Arms can float up with the next in-breath. Exhale, palms can come together, and we can just step our feet in toward another. We'll take that on the other side, and then we'll try the different flow if you are ready for it, or if not, just try to remember this flow that we're doing right now. So we're gonna inhale, sweep those arms wide and high. And as we exhale, soften those knees, lengthen as we move into that fold, tailbone towards the sky. And this time we'll step our right foot back into that lunge, anchor the heel down onto the earth, nice deep bend into that left knee, right on top of your ankle. And then when you're ready, you can pinwheel those arms up, bringing the torso up to vertical. And again, you might just stay here, Virabhadrasana 2, and settle in. If you like, you can internally rotate your right arm, bend at the elbow, move the forearm behind the back body, and then try to reach your fingertips for that left inner thigh. So you can push down into that thigh as you reach your left fingertips up toward the sky and back. Again, as the fingertips reach away, think about the arm bones hugging in. Wherever you are, whichever variation you're choosing, your gaze, your drishti can be wherever it serves you, up toward the sky, down toward the earth, looking straight ahead. Make sure you're breathing nice, long, deep breaths. On your next inhale, let that lift you up. Pinwheel the arms all the way down toward the earth. Lift the back heel. Step the front foot to meet the back. Again, lower the knees down to the earth. Sink the hips back toward the heels. On your next inhale, pull yourself through into your cobra or any version of cobra you like. And as we exhale, tucking the toes, moving back into child's pose or down dog. And allowing for a couple nice, long, deep breaths here as you just settle. Nodding the head yes, shaking the head no. Perhaps pressing breath out between the lips if you like the horse breath or a trill. And when you're ready, on your next breath in, lift those heels, bend your knees, look forward, exhale as you try to hop those feet to the outside of your hands, moving into your Malasana, Yogi Squat. You might just pause here for a moment, trying to extend your spine, root the tailbone, move the shoulders back, the heart up, the crown, reaching toward the sky. Root down into your feet, so on your next inhale, you can push down to rise up. Turn the heels outside of your toes. So as we inhale, we grow nice and tall, side body lengthening, thighs are lifting, pelvis is engaging, and then we can open our hearts up toward the sky, move the hands back to the sacrum or lower, we're reaching wherever, again, the body is ready to reach. Take another deep breath here, maybe going just a bit further as long as you're not compressing in that low back. So make sure you're lifting up from the kidneys here and then bringing yourself back to a vertical place. Walk those feet in. Get some water, yeah, anything you need in this moment before we try the next sequence. So we're not gonna hold as long, but we're gonna kind of flow. Let's see if I can even remember what the flow is. I was just like kind of blanking out a little bit. So we'll see, the heat has like swept my mind today. It's like one of those days where it just, and we're feeling sweaty, good. Let's feel the sweat, let's embrace the sweat and let that be like cleansing. What'd you say? Purifying. It's purifying, exactly. One of these days I'll have my living pond, so after yoga class we'll just go for a dip in the pond and we'll feel refreshed. Feel really nice tonight. Exactly. All right, so when we are ready, we'll come to the top of our mats, and remember that we can always just choose to do a similar flow that we just did, or take a pass, lie down, whatever we feel like we need. So when we're ready, palms can gather at the heart center, grounding your feet into the earth, lifting the thighs, rooting the tailbone, growing tall through the crown. On your next inhale, let those arms sweep wide and high, moving into that back space if you like with the heart. As we exhale, find length as we fold, soften those knees, hands come to the earth. Stepping your left foot back, rooting the heel down. On your inhale, you can pinwheel those arms all the way up into that reverse warrior. And as we exhale, pinwheel those arms down to the earth once more, lifting the back heel. We're gonna step that right foot back into our three-legged downward facing dog. And if we like, we can choose to open up that right hip, bend your knee, and then reach the foot all the way down for the earth into that wild thing where we're rooting into our palms and our bent right leg, our extended left leg. The foot is, both feet are pressing down, the pelvis is lifting, the heart is moving back. Take another breath here. And as we exhale, we're gonna lower our hips down onto the earth and then roll to our left side. So we're rolling back onto our mats, onto our bellies. Inhale into our cobra. Exhale into our downward facing dog. And then if you want, lower your knees down to the earth for a moment and sit yourself upright. And I'm just going to demonstrate the next thing that you can either try or go into that Malasana yogi squat version. So if you want, we can try lifting your heels, bending your knees, and then instead of landing your feet on the earth, you can try to land your inner thighs on your outer arms. Yeah, which didn't work for me today, but we can try it. I blame the uneven earth. But you're trying to, put the brakes on, land in your firefly pose because of all the fireflies that are out this time of year. Or you could try landing in your crow, kakasana, or land in malasana and then find your way there. So even if we don't get there, we can come into that malasana pose and we can try getting there from that place where we're drawing the inner thighs in toward the outer arms, maybe shifting to one leg or the other, maybe floating both feet, maybe just keeping the feet on the ground, maybe trying our crow if that feels a little more familiar, where the outer legs are supporting the knees are supporting the outer arms, hugging in. Or maybe we're just like, I'm not feeling it. I am way too hot and I don't want to do any version. So maybe you take a standing forward fold and tuck your hands underneath your feet and just stretch out the backs of your wrists, which is really good. Nice and juicy. You can bend those knees so that can happen. And maybe the sweat is just getting in your way. It could be dripping into your eyeballs at this point. So wherever you are, let's just take another breath. And again, honor where you're at. And then we're gonna come all the way back upright, rolling your way up or leading through an extended spine, however you want to arrive up. Take an inhale, sweep those arms up, exhale, palms to heart center. Lovely. We'll do the other side. So inhale, sweep those arms wide and high. And again, if you like, move into that back space. If you like, exhale, lengthen as you fold, tipping the heart forward, hands to the earth. So bend your knees, stepping your right foot back. And again, anchor the right heel down to the earth, Virabhadrasana base. Inhale, pinwheel those arms up. And if you like, into that reverse warrior. Exhale as you move those hands back down to the earth. And then extend your left leg back into that three-legged dog. If you like, continue to open the hip, bend the knee, reach the toes for the earth, coming into that wild thing, pressing into the palm, pressing down into the feet, opening the heart. And then from this place, we'll lower our hips, roll over our right side back onto our belly. Inhale into your cobra. Exhale into your downward facing dog. And again, now you know where we're going on this side. So you might take a couple breaths just to prepare yourself. Maybe mentally imagine yourself flowing from down dog into that firefly with a perfect land. And when you see it clearly in your mind's eye, then try it in your body, lifting those heels, bending your knees, gazing forward. Inhale, exhale as you bring the thighs to hug the outer arms. Awesome. Or land in Malasana and try it from that place, or crow, or just take a break, drink some water. So allow yourself to play in this moment and whatever is joyful to do. So we had an event last night, and there was a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and all she saw was a bird bath full of water. And she was like, I love water! And she was just playing with the water, like as if it was the most magical thing. So is there a way that when we step into our physical practice that we can treat it like that? Like, it's just so cool. Like, whatever we're doing, it's just magical. We're breathing, we're sensing, we're alive, we're discovering things. So let yourself discover wherever you want to be. Maybe that's just being still. Maybe you're playing with that flow that we just tried and you want to try it again. Find the magic of the water, the magic of this nowness, this moment, and the power that we have right now. Awesome. So we're going to go into a stretch, but maybe just to counter stretch our wrists for that, if you want to land in your standing forward fold and step on your feet, or exactly like Allison's doing, if you want to just bring the backs of your palms to the earth, fingertips facing in from a seated place, just kind of breathe into that. Maybe you add a little bit of a weight shift, little rock right to left for a moment. And we'll just bring ourselves upright. So this next stretch that we're going to do is really, it's one of my favorite stretches to go into, but again, I'm going to walk you through step by step, honor your body, and don't push past what your limits are. So you're going to start with your feet out in front of you, your hips on the earth, and then you're going to, and I'm just going to kind of orient myself just slightly, and you're going to bring your knees, let your knees fall to the right. And then take that top left ankle and move it back toward your buttocks. You might have to play because everyone's anatomy is a little different, so you might have to adjust your right heel in closer, it out further. So you might just start here, and you might just breathe here and say, this is where I want to be. You can also think about taking your right arm out on a diagonal and then with an extended spine, so we're not collapsing into it, we're lengthening, and we come down onto that right forearm, and we might just float the left arm up and overhead and say, this is where I want to be. We might bring both forearms down to the earth and say, this is where I want to be, and I want to think about my left knee moving down toward the earth, so I'm a little bit of energizing that left knee and shin down. You might stay here. Or I might continue to recline all the way down to the earth. And then once you're down there, you can, again, adjust your left foot or your right foot. So you're moving into that deeper stretch. You might play with stretching your arms up and overhead and then kind of moving your torso over to that left side a little bit. So there's a nice opening in your right side body. If that feels right for you, it may not. And maybe your head turns in one direction, or maybe the nose is toward the sky, and you just breathe a couple nice, long, deep breaths. For some reason, the image that comes to mind when I'm here is like an angel that just fell from the sky and splatted on the earth. So imagine yourself as like a fallen angel. And gravity had just brought you to this place, this time, in space. And you're just here. But your heart is open. You're relinquishing control. You're softening your back body into the earth. Your heart is still open to the sky. Your breath is full and deep. Maybe just draw in one more nice long deep breath. And exhale. You can start to think about crunching your right rib toward your right pelvis, using your hands on the earth to press yourself upright. Maybe moving your hands behind your hips so you can extend your legs out in front of you, sitting up nice and tall, pressing your heels down into the earth so you lift your knees slightly away from the ground, and then letting your torso hinge over those legs from your hips. And you might think about inhaling as you sense that tailbone lengthening away from your crown. As we exhale, folding wherever your body wants to fold. Maybe your head remains sort of energized. Maybe you allow the head to fold deeply, releasing the head completely. And just take a couple deep breaths. Perhaps allowing the breath to be nice and full so you're sensing the back of the heart rise toward the sky as you inhale. As we move out of this stretch, again, you might think about engaging that Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. You might lengthen through your spine or roll your way up, depending on what feels most supportive for your body today. We'll take that stretch on the other side, the fallen angel stretch. The splatted angel. We're going to let the knees fall to one side. I have no idea what the stretch is called, by the way. It doesn't matter, though. And then we're going to take the heel toward the right heel toward your buttocks, so behind your body in your back space area. And again, remember that you can adjust, so you're not stuck. You can adjust your knees, adjust your shins, and then again, we'll take the left arm out on that diagonal. We might just sort of think about lengthening on that right side a little bit, grounding your right knee and shin down to the earth. The right arm might reach up toward the sky. You might take both forearms down to the earth. You can just breathe here, a couple deep breaths, because even here, even if you can go all the way down onto your spine, this moment here is really nice too. It's just a little different. So you might think about energizing the knee down to the earth. And if you, like Kristen and Allison, if you can, look behind you, and there is a lady turkey having a feast right now, not too far behind you. Her little head is bobbing up and down, so cute. Do you see her? So good vibes you're putting out there, lady. She feels totally safe with us here doing our yoga. So if you want, you might stay here in this moment, or you might roll your way down onto your spine. Let the back of the skull just soften to the earth. And again, you might take your arms up and overhead and kind of walk your scapula, your torso over to that right side a little bit so that left side starts to lengthen. You might turn your gaze over toward your right armpit. And allow the breath to just move in and out in a way that is right for you, that is natural for you. You might start to move your left rib cage toward your left pelvis and start to use your hands to press your way up, draw the chin down toward the earth. Once you arrive in an upright position, you might choose to have your legs extended to counter the sort of flexed knee position, or you might bring the soles of your feet together, knees bound open, and then take a fold from that position just to stretch the back body. Whichever choice serves you best. You might even take a version of tortoise here if you like, moving heels further away depending on what area of your hips you want to explore, like it is that magical water moment. And knowing that this is perhaps one of the last stretches or minutes before we move into Shavasana next. So you might stay here for a few more moments. You might check in again with what are your reserves, what is there left to do to allow yourself to continue cultivating that sense of inner balance, inner peace. So when we move into Shavasana, you can arrive there already in a place that allows you to just let go, let be. And when you feel ready, just starting to prepare for final rest. If that means grabbing some more props, adding some layers, so you can recline down onto the earth, whether your legs are extended or knees are bent. Eyes can close, and you might just take a moment to just draw some nice deep breaths in. So you're breathing in nice, long, deep breaths for a few moments as you allow the body to move into a stiller place. You might invite back in that imagery of yourself as a lotus. The breath can help give you that sense of you're floating on water as the breath sort of ebbs and flows inside. You might imagine yourself kind of sitting on that current of breath. And you might picture yourself from above, seeing yourself afloat, suspended in the water, gently soothed by those currents beneath you, buoyant. You might see the lights kind of reflecting on the water, the sky, the winged beings that move over the landscape. You might sense yourself as already a fully blossomed lotus, and just receiving the lights from the sun, Sensing the subtlety of the breath, those gentle currents, keeping you afloat. You might stay here on the surface, or you might invite your mind's eye to move deeper down the stem, into those roots, deep into that muck, into the depths. Allowing yourself to go wherever you're being asked to go from your own self. To feel whatever this moment wishes you to feel. To experience whatever this moment is asking you to experience. To relax and to allow, to trust and to let be.